Leo listeners, Cara here from leolisting.com, where I help intrepid travelers and adventurous expats improve their listing skills so they can better connect with native speakers in conversation. So today I have a special guest with me. It's my friend Inés. Yes, she's my friend. Hola, Inés.
Hola, ¿cómo estás?
Bien. We're not going to do this interview in Spanish because obviously it is an English channel. So I brought Inés on not so much to talk about listening, but more to talk about living abroad, because Inés teaches Spanish, but she lives in the USA. So I thought she could be an interesting person to talk to for anybody who is planning to maybe live in the USA, anybody who is curious about life in the USA. So Inés, do you want to tell us a bit more about what you do, where you're living, etc.?
Yes, so I'm originally from Madrid in Spain, and well, that's where I lived most of my life. But then now I'm living in Texas, the United States, because my husband is from here. So I moved to Austin 3 years ago, almost exactly, because it was in January 2017.
Wow.
Yeah.
Happy anniversary.
Thank you. Yeah. It's been 3 years already, and on one side it feels like it's been shorter than that, and on the other side it feels like it's been longer. It's a little.
And I just wanted to ask, because I think this is true, before you moved to the USA, had you lived abroad in any other countries?
Yes, so I lived in London for 1.5 years between 2013 and 2015.
Okay.
So I've lived in 3 different countries: Spain, the UK, and the USA.
Okay, well, that's really interesting that you've lived in 2 different English-speaking countries, because obviously here we're interested in, possibly moving to other English-speaking countries or traveling in them and understanding what native speakers say. Okay, so you're living in Austin. Is your husband from Texas, from Austin?
Yes and no. I mean, he sort of lived here most of his life, but he actually was born in New Jersey. But he lived there, and then he lived in Boston for like 5 years. But then, the whole family moved to Texas when he was a little kid. So, he's from Texas.
Oh, okay. So he's kind of like an immigrant to another state.
Yeah, that's quite common in the USA. Actually, a lot of people are born in a state, but then they move to another state for college or whatever, and then for work to another one. So it's quite common to sort of move around a lot in the United States.
Okay, interesting. And I guess the differences between the different states are kind of
yeah, that's another thing. Yeah, it's not as much as in Europe, of course. They don't have as many differences, but yeah, there's definitely some differences between states. It's not all the same sort of thing.
Okay, because I think some Americans, for them, like Texas is a bit particular. It's a bit like California or something like that.
Exactly. Yeah, and they have their own culture, and it's all different. We always think when we're Europeans, we think that the USA is sort of like homogeneous, like it's all the same, and it really isn't.
Okay, that's a really, really good point. Actually, that's something really useful to know if you are moving there, that it's going to vary. And I imagine even within a state, because for me, Texas has no particular attraction, but you're living in Austin. And if I had to go somewhere in Texas, I would definitely pick Austin because it sounds, it sounds like a really cool place to live.
Yeah, it's very different from the rest of Texas. So that's true.
Yeah, whereas like Dallas, Houston and all that, to me, that just sounds like, all the things I'm not interested in. Like cowboys and pickup trucks and stuff like this.
Yeah, you actually see so many pickup trucks here, like all around the US, but especially in Texas. And they're like, they have this saying that everything is bigger in Texas. And it's true for trucks and even thunderstorms and anything. So you feel like, I think at least 50% of the cars you see here are like pickup trucks. So
Why? But do people actually do they have things in the back of them? Like, are they actually transporting stuff?
Yeah, some people do. Like, I guess most of the times they're empty, but you definitely see. Yeah, no, it's true. But yes, of course, definitely you see a lot of things there. Sometimes furniture or lumber or so many things, like curious things as well.
Okay.
Yeah.
Interesting. All right. But yeah, Austin, for people who don't know, it's kind of famous for like the music scene and being a bit hipster and all this kind of thing.
Yeah.
Imagine it's a pretty young place as well.
Yes, and also because you know, the biggest employer here is the university, University
Right.
of
Okay.
Austin. So there's a lot of young people. Like you can definitely see the difference, for example, with Dallas or Houston, that the average age is like much higher, you know, but here like there's a lot of young people. So when you go downtown, everybody's like in their 20s. So not everybody, but yeah, there's
a lot of people are younger. Okay, that's really, yeah, that's really interesting that even within, well, I suppose Texas is a very big state, but it's interesting.
Yeah,
there can
it's
be
bigger than Spain. So yeah, when I think about it, yeah,
wow,
Texas is bigger than Spain and then France. So yeah.
Oh wow, that's really crazy. Okay. Well, so let's get into the juicy part then. So we know that you live there because you're married to an American. Oh, and when you were in London, was that just because you wanted to live in an English-speaking country, or?
Yeah, so I really like the UK, and I've loved it since I was a teenager. And I used to go there every summer to do take different summer courses, not just in English, but at universities. Well, I studied history in college, so I would take like medieval history of England and things like that.
Okay.
So I used to go every summer, and I love the UK. So one of my dreams was always to actually live there for a little while. So I moved to London because I wanted to. So no particular reason, just like something I wanted to do. And so I was there. I went there originally just for 3 months to see, you know, maybe I'll go back to Spain, maybe I'll stay. And then I ended up staying for 1.5 years exactly, actually. I didn't plan it that way, but it was exactly 18 months. And it was a lot of fun. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, no, that sounds amazing. Oh, and actually I'm jumping around a lot. What was your husband doing in Madrid? Because you said you met in Spain, right? You didn't meet in the US, yes. You met in Spain.
Yeah. So that's actually an interesting story. So he was doing taking a tour of Europe, like typical things that Americans do, right? They go to Europe for a month, and then I'm just saying, and of course, why wouldn't they, right?
Well, yeah.
So he was there for a whole month, and he visited a lot of different countries. And one of the places he was going to stop at was Madrid for 3 days. And so he was sort of trying to meet people from, for example, staying in Airbnbs and stuff like that, because he wanted to meet like the locals, not just like a tourist. And so, you know, he was trying to contact different people from all those cities that he was going to stay at, and he contacted me. So he wanted just somebody to show him around Madrid. Okay. So for me, it was interesting actually, because I had just come back from London like half a year before, and I was really missing like speaking in English with someone. So I thought that it was going to be fun to just talk to someone in English for a few hours, and also show him around my city, which I love doing. It's my thing, just showing people about Spain and all that. And then just we met, and neither of us thought much of it. It was just like, okay, we'll just, you know, show you around, and that's it. And we pretty much just fell in love at first sight, which sounds really cheesy, but it's true. We did. And so we were going to meet for like maybe 2 or 3 hours, but then we ended speaking like 8 hours that day, and then the following day we spent the whole day together again.
Wow.
And so yeah, and then he went on with his tour. But then when he came back to the USA, we just kept talking on Skype and blah, blah, blah. And, you know, etc. And that's how, I guess we started going out, quotation marks, because we were in separate continents. But, you know, so that's how we met.
Wow, that's amazing. Okay,
it's like a movie. It sounds very cheesy.
Yeah, it sounds like they should make a movie of that. Yeah, I didn't think.
Like I'm making this up, but I'm not.
Yeah, I'm not actually. My life is actually a rom-com. Okay, that's really cool. Yeah. Okay, I didn't think Love It. I always thought Love at First Sight was like ridiculous. But
me too. Yeah, that's why I'm like, this is really happened. That's weird.
Am I in a film? Is this a dream? No. It's your life. Okay, so let's get into the juicy part then about living in the USA, because obviously that's going to be useful for people who are planning to work, study, travel, whatever it is. over there. So do you want to go? Well, I asked you a big question about what are the best and worst things. So do you want to give us an overview?
So there's a lot of things I could talk about this, of course, and the same about the UK. But I think let's start with the good things, right? One of my favorite things about living here is that most Americans are really friendly. I mean, it's not like Spaniards aren't friendly. We really are as well, but Americans are as well. So for example, and I'm sorry, I know you're British, but this is something that comparing it with the UK, people are really nice and friendly, but I guess from a Spaniard point of view that we are so touchy-feely and all of that, it feels like they're a little more distant. And of course, it's completely subjective, and I'm sure you don't agree, but but Americans are very like laid back, and they don't care about stiff social norms or anything. They're just very like natural from a Spaniard point of view. So I feel like it's easy to get along with them,
Okay.
because they're more similar to us, I guess, than Northern Europeans in that way. I know this is probably strange, and it totally depends on your cultural background, but that's how I feel as South European. So
yeah, that makes sense to me. People can be a bit more. Well, I think it comes down to the different ways of doing politeness. So like
yeah, exactly.
And this is interesting. So we're talking about the same language, obviously English. There aren't huge differences between British and American English, but there is a big difference in the way people do politeness. So, American people, they want to be your friend straight away. And this is very strange for British people because we don't want to impose on people. We don't want to be rude or overbearing. So the kind of American way of like, I'm your friend and we've just met is a bit strange.
Yeah.
It's maybe a bit more acceptable, well, because I'm from Scotland, so it's a bit different. We're probably a bit less reserved than people in England because it's more of a Celtic approach, but still we're not as kind of intense as Americans who will be your friend after 5 seconds, which is nice, but like sometimes it's a bit like
it's a different thing.
Yeah, it's just a different way of being polite. So
yeah, and that maybe we think, oh, they're so cold, and no, you're actually trying to be polite, and for
but like I don't want to bother you,
my presence, exactly. But in that way, I guess Spaniards and Americans are more similar because we Spaniards are exactly the same way. Oh, I just met you, you're my friend, kisses, hugs, So in that way, because I'm Spanish, so I feel like they are more friendly, but don't get me wrong, I love British people as well, and I get along with them as well, but it's sort of like a different cultural code, I guess. So that's something I really like. They tend to be quite friendly. And then another thing, and this is when my super comfy person comes, I do love the fact that Americans just dress for comfort and not for how you look. It's different from Spain and the whole of Europe. So in Europe, we always tend to dress nice and fancy, even if you're going to the grocery store, you don't want to go like in your sweatpants or whatever, right? Most of us. But however, here, it's like people just dress however they want. Some people dress really nice, but others don't. I mean, it's not like people don't judge you for what they wear, for what you wear as much as in Spain. So for example, I remember in Spain, if I was at home and I would go to the grocery store for like 5 minutes to get bread or whatever, I was wearing some random clothes, because I was at home and maybe they don't match or whatever, and I would get looks, especially for like elderly ladies.
Oh yeah.
Look up and down like, what are you wearing? So this is something you don't get here. Like people couldn't care less what you wear. So, and everybody dresses for comfort. And honestly, like so many clothes here are so comfortable, and I love that. So
okay.
Maybe this is very silly, but it's really something that's
okay.
Nice.
I think maybe in the UK that's a bit more true than in other parts of Europe. Like sometimes people dress like slobs, but not like people will go to the shop in their pajamas. I have never done that personally. That's too much for me, but that's not impossible.
I haven't either, but no, some people here do that.
My mum used to take my brother with me to school in his pajamas, and she would put a coat over him because he wouldn't get dressed in the morning, and she had to get me to school, so she just put a coat on him and put him in the buggy, and just took him out like that. It's fine.
I mean, why not, right?
Oh yeah, who
girls
cares?
anyway. Like,
Nobody's
they're
judging a
not
2-year-old on that.
yeah.
Okay, so we've got
Dressed, right?
so we've got friendliness, clothes. Do you want to give us a third one?
Well, this is something that is probably very personal, but I do like that Americans don't smoke. So this is something, I know it can be surprising to mention this, but in Spain, so many people smoke like chimneys, and I absolutely hate it so much. Like I'm almost like allergic to smoke, even if this sounds weird, like it makes me really sick. So I'm sort of tired of walking around Madrid, which is a wonderful city and everybody should visit. But, you know, sometimes in certain streets, I can't barely breathe because everybody's like smoking tobacco or whatever.
Oh, okay.
And here that doesn't happen. Actually, it's sort of like, if you're smoking, people are going to tell you not to smoke or something.
Oh,
like,
really?
It's not socially very acceptable, I guess. But the fact is that people don't really smoke here. It is so strange that I see somebody smoking. It's like I may see somebody smoking like every 6 months or something.
Oh, wow. Okay.
It's not common at all. So I guess this is very personal, but yeah, it's something that I really like. The fact that I feel like I can breathe anywhere I go, you know. And
okay, yeah, that's it.
In that way.
And just, I think because there is a smoking ban in Spain, like a smoking as in you can't smoke.
Exactly. So I'm so grateful for that. So you can't smoke anywhere inside, like in any sort of public space inside. Okay. But still outside, you know. So that means everybody smokes.
Everybody's out on the street, and obviously, because you've got
the streets sometimes are small, right? Like typical European streets. And I'm honestly sometimes have to hold my breath because there's like 10 people smoking. I'm just like, I can't do this. So that doesn't happen here. I don't know. It's like,
okay, because I think I remember being in Salau in the east of Spain, and it was 2009, and we went to a tapas bar, and people were smoking inside, and that was after the smoking ban. They just didn't care. I'm pretty sure, because I think in a lot of countries it was like 2007 is when it came in. So like,
yeah, I think that was more or less when it happened. Yeah, the same time.
But I mean, they had decided, you know, I want to eat my tapas and I want to have cigarette.
But that's totally illegal. Yeah, they shouldn't be doing that. But that would annoy me. I would have said something.
Yeah, it was a bit annoying. But oh well, never mind.
Yeah.
Okay. Did you have anything else positive you want to highlight?
Yes. So again, this is all very personal probably, but I do like the open spaces as well. So of course this comes with cons, and I'll explain what next, but I do like the fact that there's so many open spaces here because everything is built broadly instead of highly. I don't know how to say it.
Yeah, I get what you mean. Okay, yeah, these are built out and not up.
Exactly. Yes, that makes more sense. So in Europe, it's all more like concentrated, and here it's like you have so many like space and green spaces. So, for example, Austin, you have a neighborhood here, and then you have a lot of like just nature, like woods. You know, there's just woods, like natural woods, and so that's really nice because everywhere you go, there's a lot of open green space, and you know that's something I really like as well. When I will go back to Europe now, sometimes I feel a little claustrophobic. It takes me a couple of days to get used to, you know, the smaller streets and, you know, and everybody's together. There's much noise, much more noise because of that as well. Here, everything is more silent because, you know, your neighbor may be like yards and yards away from you. So.
Okay, that's interesting. Yeah, so people are, everything's more spread out and... Okay. Well, I mean, if one state is the size of Spain, bigger than Spain, then there's definitely lots of space to...
There's a lot of space here. There's lots, yeah.
Okay.
But of course, that's something that also has a con, right? And it's the fact that everything is far away from you. So in Europe, you can go walking anywhere you need to, like grocery store, the bank, wherever you need to go, mail, whatever. Whereas here, everything is far away. So that means that you need a car for everything. And also it means that public transportation it's almost non-existent, because again, the cities are so big. They're trying to connect everything is almost impossible, you know, like you would need 1,000 miles of, you know, lines and, you know.
Yeah.
So that's one thing that you know, for me, it's the most difficult thing to get used to about living here, which is the fact that you need a car for absolutely everything. Again, even going to the grocery store, which is like the most normal thing to do. And in Europe, you just have 1-2 minutes walking, right, by your house. And here you need the car, because maybe the closest one is 20 minutes walking, and then you have to, you know, pull the really heavy bags and all that. So,
Yeah.
so that is something that I find difficult to get used to. As a European, I'm, you know, and also, of course, as a European, and I'm from Madrid, a big city, I never got my driver's license before I moved here. Why would I? I don't need it. And also, it's quite expensive as well to get your driver's license in Spain. I think so, like over 1,000 euros. So if you don't need it, you don't get it. Right?
Yeah, why would you? Yeah, if you've lived in Madrid, and then you lived in London, which is another city where you don't need there's no point in having a car.
Actually, it's more a handicapped car, because you need to park it, and it's
Yeah.
so it's better to just get the tube. So I moved here and I didn't drive or anything, and suddenly, you know, hey, I'm stuck to the house. So it was hard to get used to, you know, having to ask my husband to drive me everywhere. If I want to go to the bank, whatever, you know, please, can you drive me there? Because it's 1 hour away walking, and there's no, you know, there's no subway, or there's no bus, there's nothing.
Yeah.
So that's, you know, a con. So on the one side, you have all this open space, which is really, really nice. But on the other side, it means that communications are more difficult, and you need a car for everything.
Yeah, it's more designed for cars than for people.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, and that's another thing that sometimes I miss seeing people on the street, because when you go outside for a walk, you only see cars. You barely see people.
Right. Yeah.
So I live in an apartment complex, so I see more people, right? But sometimes, because, you know, their apartments, so I may see a couple of people walking their dogs or whatever. But if you go to a neighborhood with the typical houses and backyards, is like the typical American neighborhood, it's like you may not see anyone. You may be walking for like an hour and not see anyone there. So you just see cars parked or moving past. So that's something that on the one side is nice, because you have all these quiet, but at the same time, sometimes I miss the liveliness of the streets in Europe, where there's always people and going about their lives, and it's just very different, I guess.
Even if they're smoking.
Yeah, even if they're smoking. That's true.
Okay, so that's what other negative points are there then?
I'm looking at my notes.
Okay, yeah, go ahead. Yeah, we don't want to miss anything.
So another thing that I find hard to get used to, and this is totally from a Spaniard point of view, I guess, it's the political correctness, right? So here, there's a lot of topics that you're not supposed to talk about with people that you don't know very, very well. And those topics are, for example, politics and religion, right?
Okay.
So these are things that are like almost like taboo, right? Like if you don't know the person, you don't know what their ideas are, or they're not part of your family or really close friends, you better not talk about that, because people get really like offended easily and very riled up about everything. So there's something that, you know, in Spain, we're used to just talk about whatever. It's not a problem. Well, of course, sometimes we get annoyed at each other as well. But I mean, it's not like a taboo. There's no like taboo topics that you better not talk to with people that you don't know that well. So that's something that's difficult for me to get used to as a Spaniard, which is very like in your face. We say whatever we think, you know. And there's even like some taboo words that you can't say regardless of the context. So all of that is hard to get used to. And sometimes I'm a little scared of maybe saying something that is politically incorrect, or, you know, there's something that in Spain where we just talk about easily, and here it's like, no, don't talk about this because you don't know this person, and, you know, can get trouble, whatever.
You might get a bad reaction. Okay, so there's definitely some topics that you can't bring up.
Yeah, especially if you don't know the person that well. Like, you know, if it's your family of really close friends, that's fine, but not just with people, you know, you don't have that much.
Okay, yeah, not like in small talk. Have you got any specific examples of topics for people?
Politics.
Just okay, politics in general. I was going to say something like guns, for example, gun control.
Well, of course, yes, gun control. Don't talk about that with anyone. Yeah, because no, and again, unless you know the person or something, but it's something that gets people so riled up. So better don't touch that.
Yeah, it's not worth it.
Yeah, and then of course now don't talk about Trump or anything because you're gonna have really opposite reactions. People that love him, people that hate him. So it's better not to get into that. Like unless you want to, you're ready for the fight. But you can't. I feel like in Europe, it's easier to have more like an intellectual conversation about these topics without getting so riled up. Although, of course, we get riled up sometimes, right? But at least back then, I think it's getting worse now in Europe as well. But back in the day, you were able to just have like a conversation about whatever, and it wasn't a big problem. But here it's more difficult, I guess.
Okay, yeah. I think the word is like polarized. Like the debates are polarized. So you're either like pro-gun, anti-gun, pro-Trump, anti-Trump, whatever the topic. Yeah, well, I think it's I think it's getting a bit like that now in the UK with Brexit. It has polarized people. As
well,
yeah.
So it's like, again, people get offended very easily here for anything you say sometimes, and just like can be like, I disagree with this idea of yours, and they just get so offended. So that's why it's difficult to get used to that. And then another thing, I feel like as a Spaniard, I don't really belong anywhere here, because in the United States, it's like everybody sort of puts a tag on you depending on your ethnicity or your race, right? So you're Black or white or Latino, whatever that means, because there is so many things, or you're Asian or whatever. So what happens to me is that I'm white and European, right? But I also speak Spanish.
Yeah.
So that means that nobody recognizes me as one of theirs, sort of, because white people here tend to be from the north of Europe originally. Okay. So the moment I speak Spanish, they don't see me as white. They see me as Hispanic or Latino, right?
Okay.
Which I am, of course. But I'm also white, but they don't see me. And then Spanish-speaking Latinos don't see me as one of theirs either, because I'm white and European. So I feel like I'm in between two fronts. And I've talked about this with other Spanish people here in the USA, and they all agree with me that it's hard to find your group of people in a way. I mean, it's not that you have to find your group of people, but it's like, I feel like here, everybody has a tag, and also there's a lot of stereotypes attached to that, right? So everybody assumes that you are this way because you are Mexican or because you're Asian or whatever. And so it can be hard for a Spaniard to feel like you belong to any of these groups, because nobody knows where you're from. And I've had even white people especially, that they don't know, some of them, they didn't know where Spain was. And I had to explain that it was a European country, and which is interesting.
Yeah, you shouldn't really have to explain that, should you? But oh well.
Yeah. But anyway, so yeah, and then sometimes white people may assume that I'm Mexican because I speak Spanish. So it's like the moment you speak Spanish, you're Mexican, like that there's no other Spanish-speaking country.
Yeah, they don't have a category for a Spanish-speaking European. It's weird as well, because there's lots of people in Latin America who maybe are ethnically white, or they look white. There's so much mixing people, you can be Mexican and look white, and it's, it's all a construct at the end.
Because it's not a race, or it's more like a cultural thing, right? You speak Spanish, but it's not really a race. So there's Latin Americans that are white, totally white, and some people are Black, some people are Native American, and most of them are mixed up, really. They're mostly so.
Okay, so I can understand that is a bit complicated, especially in Texas, where there must be a big Spanish-speaking community.
Yeah, there's lots. I think it's like 40% of the state, or 35% or something.
Oh wow, that's amazing. Okay, so you think that would be an advantage for you as someone who speaks Spanish, because that gives you some people you can talk to. But I mean, there
is. I mean, and it is nice when I walk on the streets and I hear my own language spoken by people. school. So yeah, that is definitely nice. It is nice
to have that connection. Okay, that's cool. Are there any other disadvantages you wanted to bring up?
I think that's it.
Yeah.
I've
main
talked a lot, so I don't want to like criticize much. No, I'm joking. But I mean, it's like everything, you know, it's the same with England. I could talk about good things and bad things. And of course, a lot of these things are very personal because it's all about your own cultural background and the differences with that. And that's what you're going to notice, you know. So again, this is very personal.
Yeah. If things are the same, you're going to be like, oh, well, that's okay then.
Yeah, this is the normal thing to do. So
yeah, you don't question it, do you? But actually, someone else would question it because for them, it's not normal.
Exactly.
Okay, cool. That's interesting to get a mixture of the good points and bad points, because obviously, like, you know, it is amazing to live in another country, but it's not all, you know,
and rainbows.
exactly. So I did ask you if you get homesick.
Yes, I do.
Okay.
A lot, actually, but I guess this is normal. I mean, it's nothing to do with the USA or anything. It's not like I'm not happy here. I am. It's simply that, you know, I guess I'm very attached to my country in a way. I love my country. Of course, I could also tell you about a lot of disadvantages of Spain. So no country is perfect, but I definitely get a lot homesick a lot, quite often. And again, it's not because of the USA or anything. It's just, you know, it's hard, you know, as you were saying, like living in a different country, it's really fun. And it's definitely very good for you. It opens your mind, like you become so much more tolerant, etc. It has a lot of advantages. But of course, at the same time, you know, it has disadvantages, and most of them are that you miss your country, you get homesick, you miss your family, your friends, everything back home, your customs, your language as well. And that's one of the things that I miss the most, I guess. Even though I love speaking in English, and when I was in Spain, I couldn't wait to be in England to speak English. But now I miss the opposite. I miss being able to speak my language like 24/7, right? And also it's hard to get used to, and I guess this is true for anybody who speaks a second language constantly. It's hard, the fact that sometimes, even though I am highly fluent, but especially at the end of the day when I'm really tired and it's like my brain refuses to cooperate anymore. I can totally feel it, like it's saying, no, I don't want to speak in English anymore, leave me alone. And so it's hard to have to keep sort of translating everything in your brain before you speak, which is of course something that I don't usually do when I'm speaking. Like right now, I'm not thinking in Spanish and saying it in English, but when you're really tired at the end of the day, you end up doing that because it's so hard to keep, you know, the second language. So that's something I really miss. And of course, I also miss Spain. So many things about Spanish culture, things that I mentioned before, right? Like the people on the streets, the liveliness, the fact that everybody is friendly. Well, not everybody, but you know, a lot of people are friendly in Spain. I also miss this touchy-feely thing that I know it can be very off-putting for a lot of people, but as a Spaniard, I miss touching people, you know, on the arms and the shoulders, whereas it's just like very normal, very natural. So for example, the 2 kisses thing, now I'm used to it, right? But at first it is so hard for me, for example, to see my husband's family, who's my family as well, and saying hi and not give them 2 kisses or a hug or anything. It's just very weird, you know, if it's like, it's very distant. And
they don't even hug.
Sometimes we do hug, but it's more like, it's not like in Spain. In Spain, we say nos achuchamos, which means like we really like hug each other for like, you know, 2 minutes, and just like, you know, we're very touchy-feely. So yeah, that's really hard to get used to. And then other things that I miss as well, of course, as I said before, I walking everywhere. That is one of the main things I miss. And also things like the big royal parks that we have in Europe, right? In London and in Madrid, we have all these parks that used to be from the royals, and now they're public parks. You don't really find this here. I mean, there's some parks, but most of them you actually have to pay like $5 to get in, which is so strange for me. Like, oh my God, it feels weird to pay $5 to get into a public park. So I just miss all of that. I also miss, of course, the Spanish food, obviously, and a lot of things like, yeah.
Yeah, I guess it's maybe not easy to find in the US.
No, it's not. And that's interesting, actually, because here in the USA, there's like international restaurants from almost anywhere that you can think of in the world. So you can find any sort of Asian restaurants, you can find Italian restaurants, like so many of them. Like there's restaurants like Mexican, of course, like so many, international, so much international cuisine. But however, it is really hard to find any Spanish or products or restaurants or food in general. It is really difficult. And most of the Mediterranean things that you will find here are Italian mostly. And sometimes Greek. Yeah. So they always have like the Italian version of everything, but not the Spanish one. And of course, they're similar. So I'm good with that. I love Italian food as well. But they're not exactly the same. So sometimes I do miss like jamon or chorizo, all of the Spanish things. They don't have that here.
Yeah, and I guess it's not easy for you to just pop home. Like it's fairly easy for me to go home. But
it's like 10 hours and also it's expensive. So you can't just go there. Oh, let's just go there for dinner and come back. No, definitely not. It's not doable.
Okay, you need to open a tapas bar in Austin. I'm sure that would work really, really well.
I know. I keep telling my husband that we need to do this. We just need the funds to do it. But I'm sure that, yeah, we had a lot of customers here.
Okay, and he doesn't speak Spanish, right?
No, not yet.
Okay, yeah. So, because that means, when you're tired, you can't switch.
Exactly.
Yeah. So
I've been trying to convince him for like 4 years now, and he keeps saying that he will, but he never actually does. And it's quite frustrating for me because I'm a Spanish teacher, so he has it way too easy, But
yeah, and it would be an advantage for him living in Texas. Like there's loads of people he could speak to.
Exactly.
And if you can hear it just on the street, then you could improve quite quickly, I guess.
Yeah.
It's not like it's a foreign language because it's like from a spoken in a faraway place. It's actually spoken,
here.
And that means you could, he could find someone who's not you to teach him, so you wouldn't have to have the responsibility of.
Yeah, that's another. Yeah, exactly. There's a lot of teachers here, so many of them. Yeah, so it's easy. He has all the options, but so far he's not interested. I guess. I think maybe if later in the future we decided to move back to Spain or something like that, he will probably feel a lot more motivated to actually learn. But I feel like now he doesn't feel the need because,
yeah, you can just speak to me
here. So exactly, I speak English fluently, so he just doesn't feel the need. But I would be very grateful if he did, because as I said, at the end of the day, sometimes it's like, give me the thing. And I'm like, I don't even know how to say, I don't know, pot or plate or I can't find the words. Yeah.
Okay, yeah, no, I think everybody has moments like that, especially at the end of the day. So have you got any, I suppose what I can ask you for then directly is your tips for integrating with Americans and your tips for improving your English. What advice would you give?
When it comes to integrating with Americans, I would say first observe and see what they do, right?
Interesting.
A lot of things, even the non-verbal communication, like cultural cues, things that you don't know how to do at first. And so the first thing you should do is observe and see how they interact with each other and try to imitate that, right? Mm-hmm. And then when it comes to listening, again, first of all, listen. Listen actively. I know it sounds like obvious, right? But I think that listening is very, very important, and listening actively, as you always say, right? Because that's going to teach you a lot of vocabulary, and especially like idioms and phrases that are going to make you sound a lot more natural when you speak. And if you sound more natural in the language, you're also going to sound more approachable by native speakers.
Yeah.
And they probably are going to be more keen to talk to you. Like if you sound like a robot, maybe, there's no much connection there. But so it's good to listen and try to learn all these words and expressions and then repeat them in conversations. Like actually make an effort to say, okay, I learned these 5 idioms. Now I'm going to try and use them when I'm speaking in English, right?
Yeah, exactly. It's making an effort to sort of, actually use them. That's kind of the next stage. But I like the idea of observing people. And obviously that's something you can do even before you go somewhere, if you're watching like movies and TV shows,
Yes.
anything visual, a video podcast, you know, anything where people are, you can see people interacting, you can start to observe those kinds of nonverbal cues. I like that. You do need to have both. For what you're saying to make sense. If you use the right expression but with the wrong kind of nonverbal language, there can be
the wrong tone or something. Sometimes that happens to me, that I speak in English and I say something with a Spanish tone, I guess. My husband says, "Why are you being so rude?" And I'm like, "I'm not trying to be rude at all," you know. And so that sort of thing, it's very important to. And as you say, yeah, movies, and I always recommend this to my students: watch movies, watch TV shows that are made in that country that you want to learn the culture from. It's such a great tool, but you need to look and listen and watch like actively, not just like for fun. Of course, do it for fun as well, but you have to really make an effort to try and see all the little things. So how do people interact with each other? What are the different sort of you know, you don't talk, I don't know how to say this in English, but you don't talk the same way to your friends or to your family than to somebody you just met. So the different registers.
It's register.
Registers of the language. How do they interact with each other? The way they greet each other. Is there any nonverbal communication? Do they touch physically? Is there any physical, you know, that sort of thing. Movies are such a great tool because they're done by people from that country. So they're just going to reproduce what they always do in their daily lives. So it's like a very natural thing, you know. So if two Spanish actors, for example, are interacting with each other, they're going to interact exactly as they would in real life. So all of that is giving you so much information on how Spaniards interact with each other. And that's something that you should then try to imitate in real life when you interact with Spaniards. And the same for English, of course, or any other language.
Okay.
So yes, definitely movies and TV shows are such a great tool, not just for listening and learning vocabulary, but also for all sorts of, you know, cultural things and social cues and all of that.
Observing people. Yeah, I used to do something with a clip from Gilmore Girls where Lorelai is basically getting chatted up by a guy, and I showed my students the scene with the sound off, and it's fairly obvious what is happening, and then they had to write the dialogue. But you could tell just from the nonverbal cues what was going on. So that can be quite a funny thing to do, to switch the sound off and challenge yourself to be like, okay, what kind of interaction is this?
Yeah, that's a great exercise. Yeah. Try to write the conversation exactly.
Yeah, see how close you can get, or can you write a better one?
Yes, sometimes. Yeah,
could be good. Okay, so we're recording this at the end of January 2020. So what are your plans then for 2020?
So, well, one of the things I love the most, of course, is talk about Spanish language and culture with anybody that would listen. And that's what I do. Yes, definitely, totally. That's my passion. And that's what I do with my business, right? So what I do as a teacher is teach my students about Spanish culture. So I teach them the language through the culture so that, you know, when they go to Spain, they can avoid all these sort of cultural shocks and mistakes, and they can really feel like they belong to the country and make connections with the native speakers and all of that. So, of course, one of my main goals for 2020 would be to, you know, connect with more people and spread my message more, I guess, and so help people learn more about my country, whether it's working with them directly or via social media or any other way like that. And then on a personal level, I would love to explore the USA a little more, because I've been living here for 3 years and we haven't traveled as much as we would like so far. So I would love to be able to go places like, I don't know, the Grand Canyon or Yellowstone, especially all these pretty places that they have a lot of national parks here. And also I would love to go to Spain, of course, at least once, and go back to my country. And that's pretty much it, I guess.
Okay, that sounds like some pretty good plans. You'd be a real American if you travel to Yellowstone and the Grand Canyon and everything. Awesome.
So many places to see here. Yeah.
Yeah, it's true. You don't need to leave the USA if you're from there, because there's just so much
No, it's true. Like it's huge, and there's so many things to see and do. So yeah.
Okay, cool. So where can we find you then? So if somebody wants to learn Spanish through the culture, or if somebody is coming to Austin and they want to say hello, where is the best place to find you on the internet?
So first of all, my website, of course, which is yourlifeinspain.com. And that's where, you know, you can find me, you can contact me or learn more about me or my Spanish learning programs. And then I also have an account on Instagram and Facebook, and I'm Your Life in Spain on both of those. So any of those ways.
Great, easy to remember.
Yeah.
Okay, awesome. Well, thank you so much, Inés, for coming and for sharing your experience of living in the USA. It's so cool to have somebody who has lived in 2 English-speaking countries share their experience. So if you enjoyed this, I always forget to do this at the end of the video, you can like the video, you can subscribe to the channel, and you'll get more wonderful videos all about how to understand fast spoken English and, you know, tips for living abroad from real people who actually do it. So thanks everybody, and see you again soon.
Thank you.
Bye.